And as we're getting started, go ahead and actually just let the feet be planted. And as we start to connect with our intention, I'll already have us start off rocking on our sacrum. So what you're going to do is rock your hips down, start to lift up the low back, that arch will start to happen. And then you'll reverse that, you'll push the low back into the ground and then lift up the tailbone. You'll start just easily rocking back and forth. And this almost feels like the action of being on a boat, kind of easily rocking, just very, very gentle. You don't need to go fast at all. In fact, probably slow down what you're doing right now. It's very easy. Good. You kicked off your shoes and yeah, just find a good spot. And so as we're doing this little rocking motion on our sacrum, we're going to take a moment to connect with our intention for our class today. And that intention is largely about this sacral area. So not everybody has a huge amount of anatomical awareness. So the sacrum is kind of a triangular shaped bone. It's at the very end of our spine, and it's what connects our spine to our hips. So the sacral area, it's going to be the large focus. You'll notice different things that we're going to do today is going to affect the sacrum. It's going to help us to bring that sacrum into alignment. When the sacrum, the bones are out of alignment, what tends to happen is the bone will kind of push out to one of three different directions. And in pushing out, it can have an effect on the nerve. The biggest nerve in our body passes through into the leg. And so it can have an effect on the, being very uncomfortable on that nerve. And so in today's class, our hope is to bring that sacrum back into good alignment. So this good rocking motion we have left and right, up and down, is already getting that started by kind of helping to massage the muscles around that area and helping to just kind of get the spot nice and loose, even helping to correct any dis-ease, kind of disalignment in that area. Now the sacral chakra is in charge of our ability to be creative. It's the growth that we have throughout our life. And so as we travel through our class, keeping that sacrum in mind, just imagine that same kind of coming out of alignment or into alignment of the bones is similar to what happens with our goals. Sometimes we're more in alignment with our vision for the future and sometimes less. And so as we're coming into this class, imagine that greater alignment also helps to align us to our hopes and dreams and goals so that we're attracting that future to us. And every step we take helps to lead us toward that space. So let's take 3 more rocks on the sacrum, just up and down, up and down. And after that 3rd round, you're going to take the knees into the chest, a hand on each kneecap to add in a little bit larger circles for that sacrum and the hip area. So we'll only be here a couple of rounds of breath. So from here, let's drop our feet down about as wide as our mat. From that space, our knees are going to fall all the way over to the left, and we're just going to stay. So start to notice that right thigh coming toward internal rotation. Let's take a couple of deep breaths, nothing forceful here. And just feel how this affects the hip area, the area surrounding that sacrum. As we're resting with the legs here, it's a good opportunity to add in a shoulder stretch. So let the right arm cross over the torso. The left hand hugs around that right arm to gently pull it in. Nothing too forceful again. And if you need to readjust the shoulder, tilting it up or down so that you're feeling a good stretch, take those minute adjustments. The last option we have, if you would like to add one more little step, is to take the left ankle and rest it on the right knee. For some people, that brings the knee into not a very comfortable spot, so know that it's not necessary. If you want to drop it back down, nothing wrong with that at all. Another good inhale. And then exhale, let the arms open up. If you have the ankle up, drop it down. No rush at all. Slowly take the knees up and then over to the other direction. Once we're there, we just pause for a moment, letting the hips and the legs start to settle in toward this side. Just enjoy a couple of breaths flowing in and out of the body. The left arm would like to cross over the body for the shoulder stretch. You can start to set that part up. Again, take as much time as you need to readjust exactly what you're doing in the shoulder. Maybe drawing it down, maybe tilting the head away. Just taking as much time as you need to get that set up in a really comfortable spot. Now, last option, if you wish, maybe the right ankle comes up and rests on that left knee. Take another good inhale. With the exhale, the arms spread open. If the ankle's up, remove it. And allow a few slow motion windshield wipers. This is no time to rush it. But as it feels good, gradually take the knees over to the left. Eventually to right. And just feel how any of those tight areas, especially the fascia, now gets a chance to start to come back toward a nice free, much more open alignment. Good. So the next time the knees come upright, just let them stay. We're going to take this right leg up to the sky. We won't be here too long, but we're aiming to help some of those muscles on the back side of this leg get a chance to begin opening up for us. So if grabbing onto the back of the thigh feels helpful, that's a good spot, maybe up to calf. And just enjoy a couple of breaths. Also notice what the other side is doing. Are you pulling it in so tightly that the other hip has to kind of lift off the ground? Notice that would have an impact on the sacrum. So if there's any lift at all, back off to the place where you can return that flat to the ground, nice and comfortable. And then here we begin to breathe. Begin to let this leg cross past the midline, halfway to the left side. You want to get it to the spot right when this right hip is starting to lift off the ground. What you should be feeling is the IT band, that outer right thigh, starting to open up. Also, notice right at that sacral area, because our leg is crossing over the body like this, there's actually new space getting pulled apart on that right side, right toward that hip area. So just, even if it's just in your imagination, in your mind's eye, try to see more space happening so that the bones can easily fit right back to their puzzle piece as they're meant to be. Enjoy another huge cycle of breath in. And with the exhale, let the knee bend such that we can take that right ankle onto the left thigh. This is going to start rotating the leg much more externally. So you've got some options here. If there's a lot of that right thigh tightness, just pushing the fingers into the right thigh could help it out. You do also have the option to hug hands around the left side so that you're naturally pulling that right side into the stretch. So whatever feels best for this side, we're going to that direction. Let's take some good breaths. This is a space where it's easy for muscles to clench up, for us to try to resist the opening. So if you notice any tight muscles, see if you can will them to become much more relaxed. They're safe. We're not going to pull them in too deep, but they can release and relax nice and open. Our hands begin to release. We allow this right knee to cross more tightly over the left knee. Now the knee is directly in front of the other. We again introduce the thighs close to the torso. Some people are able to grab clear down onto the ankles. So if you can comfortably reach that and let the head rest on the ground, that's fine. If that's too much for the hips, what you'll do instead is try to grab around the knee area. Just inviting this in, feel how that hip, especially the right hip, it's traveling deeper and deeper on this journey of opening, creating space for that sacrum to come right back to its perfect position. Now as hands start to release, keep the knees crossed like this. We're gradually heading to a twist, knees aiming for the left side. Know that you don't have to go all the way. Notice if the knees are a lot higher angle, this is a stretch more into the IT band area. If you continue to melt past that, you'll start to feel the hip itself, that femur connection, beginning to open. And if you continue to twist past that point, you'll feel it more into the low back and even up the vertebrae. So don't push anything too far, but just be curious with your body. What is the perfect spot to just rest into? Imagine with each breath you're taking, you're giving permission for more space to open up. Where there was previously tightness, now there's space. Breathing into the belly, take one more breath cycle in. That long, slow exhale. We begin the return journey. Eventually hips to the ground. And as we uncross this right foot, set the right foot out to the side, the knee swiveling really far open. We're going to begin a cycle just with this right leg to help that side of the sacrum one more time. So the cycle begins sliding that leg out until the leg is long. Once it's long, point and flex the foot. Once the foot has done that, it's back to a relaxed spot. Slide the knee out wide like you're going through a half cobbler pose. You get as close as that heel can get to the glute, and then slide it right back out long. Point and flex. So it's that slow journey. It seems like such a subtle motion, but this does such wonders for the hip and the sacrum. Just make sure that knee is going nice and wide, helping that rotation outward to happen. And again, don't feel in any sort of rush. It's a slow journey. Take 2 more rounds of that motion. After those 2 rounds, we'll allow this right foot to just rest on the floor, similarly to how the left was earlier. When we get there, we head left leg up to the sky. And we begin to breathe into the straight leg. Hands can rest whatever spot feels best. Make sure the sacrum is not lifting up from this right side. It's pressing evenly into the ground. Continue to breathe space. The straight leg starts to cross the midline over toward the right. It's only going about halfway. This is that point where the left hip just starts to lift off the ground. I like to keep my hands resting on the outer thigh just because it helps weigh the leg down to gravity. When you get to that spot, just breathe. Last good inhale and exhale. Then we back off enough that the knee can bend. Place left ankle onto right thigh, either pushing it open from there or setting the hug up around that right thigh or shin. So Asia, this one's the one where, yeah, good, got it. Notice if there's any areas that are still clenching, and you invite those areas to relax. As the hands start to relax, the left thigh slides tightly over. We grab onto the ankles, or if that's too much, grab onto knees. You feel that slow, steady rhythm of the breath. Be present with the breath for 3 more cycles here. After those 3, the hands release so that we can melt the knees over to a twist over on that right side. Again, the angle can be very important, so don't feel any rush as you're trying to find exactly what spot to rest at. Perhaps you're at a place where there's an interesting, very curious thing that happens where with our inhale, it actually pulls the legs slightly back, slightly out of the twist. And with the exhale, it melts just a little bit deeper. So if you feel that sensation, be with it. Be curious about it. The body's so unique, so amazing about all the things that it can do, and by how connected everything is. Be with this 3 more cycles of breath. For all 3, begin to return the hips to the ground. As we relax this left leg to the ground, it does the same cycle as before. Extend it out long, point and flex. Then left knee slides wide to bring the heel in close to the glute. And just repeat that a few beautiful cycles. One more round. As that comes to completion, we'll rock over to a fetal position on one side. Just enjoy a good breath or two. Eventually pressing our way up toward a comfortable seated place. And as we're here, the legs are more or less going to go out in front of us straight, but know that if the hips bring us back to any degree, you're going to want to let the knees be bent instead. So no shame in that at all today. Either way, the goal is to head toward a forward fold with a very straight spine. So it might be helpful to start with the fingers behind us to prop the spine up. Eventually, perhaps we begin to inch forward just a little bit, and maybe that's already the edge. If there's more space to continue going forward, and if it becomes easier for hands to come forward, that's perfectly fine. Again, constantly check in with the spine, making sure it's straight. As we're working on the sacrum, it's very helpful to have the spine getting pulled tall, very long. So it does not matter in the least bit if you normally come almost to the legs and today you're quite a bit higher, that is okay. One of the beautiful things that happens when we're straight is the erector spinae muscles, the muscles right along the spine, connect to the sitting bones, and they tug the hamstring muscles so much longer than we normally get. Just enjoy this extra space. We're here for a few wonderful cycles of breath. This spot is touching into really deep muscle groups. There's no need to move on. If you'd like to, you can back off slightly so that the feet can slide in toward any degree of cobbler's pose, maybe further, maybe closer. And then again, we approach the same way. Spine is very, very straight. Maybe there's that tilt forward, but it's only to the degree that the spine is able to still stay erect. Allow 3 more cycles of breath to flow through the body. The third exhale, we rise up and we take just a simple seated position. So from here, we're going to take eagle's arms with the right elbow under. If the hand can wrap, that's fine. Some people that's not possible, so you can just set up a hug instead. And this is going to be a moment for shoulders and neck, so I want to give you permission to be nice and free. You can wiggle the elbows left and right, forward and backward, up and down. Maybe the head tilts away from whatever you're doing with the arms. Just give that shoulder and neck and upper back area a chance to loosen up whatever feels tight for your body. No rush in the least bit. Even just pausing and breathing at the perfect spot can do wonders. Whatever you're doing, we'll take another 3 breaths. After all 3, the shoulders get to loosen. We free out the arms. We find the floor in front of us, and we begin walking as far forward as our hips and our low back are capable of. So reaching really long. This could be a spot where a block could give you space to rest your forehead down if you wish. Otherwise, just dangling the head down can feel really nice. The goal here is to continue to pull forward such that the low back and especially that sacrum are getting a nice long tug. Now this could be the perfect spot for your body, in which case no movement required. If you'd like to play with any amount of letting yourself sway toward the left side, and then at some point toward the right side, this could be a chance to get into some of those low back muscles and help that sacrum get all sorts of freedom. So no pressure to do that if your body knows that you're already in the perfect alignment. But to any speed and any frequency of swaying that might feel good, let yourself begin to explore through that. We'll head toward the last 2 or 3 breaths, but make sure everything feels balanced. When it's balanced, we take our journey back upward. And we switch out the legs, so the second leg can be in front. Once we're there, left elbow is under right elbow for the eagle's wrap. And again, take some freedom, moving around through neck and shoulders and upper back. This can be up, down, left, right, forward, backward, whatever gets into your specific spaces. Wrapping that up with one more good breath in. And exhale to unwind the arms, walking ourselves nice and long forward. If any of that swaying would like to return, you can take a little bit of time to each direction. Maybe 2 or 3 breaths, but remember, we're wanting to balance ourselves. So if you need more time to come into balance, that is okay. At some point, we will be ready to come up. So when we get there, let's head on to hands and knees. This is going to look like cat-cow, but think about this as a rocking through the sacrum. So it's much more of a subtle movement, that gentle tuck of the tailbone in, and that slight arch to the low back. So go through a few rounds of that, just focusing on the sacrum. Doesn't matter what the rest of the spine does. To me, this is a very fluid movement. It reminds me that cerebral spinal fluid, the fluid surrounding the nerves in the spine, it's very fluid and it's absolutely necessary to the health of our nervous system. And so we take on some of these qualities of water, realizing water is very fluid. Our bone structure we think is very solid, but it actually moves quite a bit more than we think it does. With every inhale, the sacrum flexes outward just a little bit. With every exhale, it comes back in. It's very fluid, just like this motion. So take one more arch up and down. And after that, we'll head onto our belly for Sphinx pose, elbows under shoulders. This could be an active Sphinx pose where you drag your belly through to stretch the abdominal muscles. This could also be 100% passive, where it's only the skeleton holding you up. Everything else drops down. So you choose the exact quality and the amount of effort that you'd like to include. Feel how that sacrum is so comfortable being in just this slight arch. So take one more breath, enjoying that. And from here, with this next pose, the left arm is going to slide forward. We're going to rock onto the left side body so that the right knee can get pulled really close up to the torso. So it's getting up towards shoulder. You're resting the side of the knee on the ground. This is very helpful to that sacrum. So let this be passive. Just breathe. Breathe into the low back. Breathe into the whole spine. Imagine you're aligning with your goals right here, just as you're aligning your sacrum. Dare to visualize what your future looks like, what you would like it to be. Enjoy one more beautiful breath through this side. And as we begin to slide that right leg long, we'll switch it out. So now it's right arm that's going forward. We're on the right side body. And it's the left knee that scoots its way up. Make sure your head is comfortable. Just passively breathe into this side. Feeling that balance, setting the bones. One more breath through this side. And as this leg starts to extend, we're at that point in class where we're going to start heading toward our final resting pose, our Shavasana. Know that alligator pose could be a good option for your sacrum. That's where you stack the palms and let the head rest down. So if you like how that feels, that could be your Shavasana today. If there's other poses you need before you come into Shavasana, go ahead and take time to relax into any of those shapes. And if there's any other version of Shavasana you want, such as feet planting so that the sacrum can just be flat on the ground, knees falling into one another, any options like this or anything else your body intuitively knows is perfect today, take your time to gradually settle toward those directions. We've got several minutes we get to relax here. So once you get comfortable, begin this beautiful process of just letting the breath flow for you. Letting our deep inhales and exhales flow like tides of the ocean, in and out. Imagining that flexing of the sacrum with every breath, the natural rhythm it takes to help the cerebral spinal fluid circulate. Begin to deepen inhales and exhales. Introduce little movements back to the body, fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Gradually stretching out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. At some point, you'll feel ready for a nice fetal position off to one side. When you get there, take a few bonus breaths. No rush at all. 4, 5, maybe 6 full breaths as we're coming back into this present moment, back into this time, this space. So after that 5 or 6 breaths, when you feel ready to come up to a comfortable seated place, you'll gently rise. As we arise, we join our hands together in front of our heart. And we let that joining of hands symbolize the alignment of our sacrum, the alignment of us toward our goals. And feel how good it is in your body to be in alignment. Much less painful, much less awkward, much more freeing. So as we head onto the rest of this day and this next marvelous week, let's keep our future, our hopes and dreams, our goals in the forefront of our mind so that we know that any step that we take is helping us stay in alignment with it. And so with this kind of alignment to lead us onward, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. Om. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.